In the brutal world of Squid Game, a single mistake can cost you your life. From trusting the wrong person to starting fights, these major errors sealed the fates of players looking for a way out of their miserable lives. Let's break down the biggest mistakes that got players killed. Hang Mina. Although a lot of deaths in this show are crazy and come from betrayals, Mina barely had any time in the game before she was eliminated by a bee, standing on the field for red light, green light like everyone else. She was able to prevent herself from being killed straight away. Then out of nowhere, a bee landed on her face. One tiny, meaningless distraction that cost her everything. She flinched. The doll turned. The shot was fired. There wasn't even time to process what was happening.
뭐야?
네가 꽂힌 거 하나 봐. 너한테 벌이 앉았어.
헐, 다 움직였어.
She didn't get tricked or hesitate over a major decision. She just moved reflexively like any human would. And in Squid Game, one move is all it takes. Mina's mistake shows how abrupt death can be in the game. Sometimes it's not about strategy or morality, but just plain bad luck. But not everyone's mistakes were so simple. Gyung-soo. From the moment he entered the game, Gyung-soo attached himself to the wrong people. He sided with Thanos and his crew, a group that thrived on violence and intimidation. At first, it seemed to work. Being part of the strongest group gave him protection and advantages that others didn't have. But what Gyung-soo never realized is that in Squid Game, no one is truly on your side. As soon as you pose a threat, you're done. During the Mingle game, when players had to form new teams, Gyung-soo assumed he was safe with his crew. He'd been loyal, right? But when the time came to choose teams, Thanos and the others abandoned him without a second thought. "Go away!" they shouted as they pushed him aside.
경수, you out. Let's go. 니네 우리 경수 못다 죽었어.
Just like that, he was out. Not betrayed so much as discarded like trash when he was no longer useful. Gyung-soo's biggest mistake here was believing loyalty mattered in a game where survival comes first. By the time he realized his error, it was already too late. His blind devotion to a group that never cared about him became his undoing, and he died tragically. But his end wasn't as painful as the man who caused his death. Thanos. From day one, Thanos was one of the biggest nuisances in Squid Game. Loud, reckless, and completely immoral. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to dominate everyone around him and feel like he had power after losing it in the real world. He bullied weaker players, picked fights for fun, and made sure everyone knew exactly who was in charge. For a while, his intimidation tactics worked. But what Thanos failed to realize was that the more chaos he created, the more enemies he made. No one hated him more than Lee Myung-gi. Their rivalry started even before the games, with Thanos blaming Myung-gi for his financial downfall after a bad investment. Inside the games, Thanos made Myung-gi's life hell by mocking, humiliating, and attacking him during meals just because he could. Then came the bathroom confrontation. What started as another controlling move quickly escalated. One second, Thanos was throwing punches. The next, he was on the ground with a fork stabbed into his throat, bleeding out painfully. No second chances, no way out, just a big mistake he couldn't take back. Some players lose because they hesitate, but Thanos lost because he never knew when to stop pushing other people. Creating enemies might seem like a good way to be feared, but in Squid Game, it only takes one person with nothing to lose to end your game permanently. Thanos' awful attitude extends beyond just himself, though. Namgyu. When the pressure of the games became too much, Namgyu made one of the most dangerous mistakes of all, turning to drugs and alliances to cope. As Thanos' right-hand man, Namgyu had a certain level of protection within the games, but during the physical challenges, he started to panic. During the six-legged pentathlon, his nervousness became overwhelming, causing him to ask Thanos for drugs. Thanos hesitated, believing the dose might be too much for him, but Namgyu insisted he had experience, and Thanos eventually gave in.
그거 하면 안 돼요? 저도.
What the fuck are you talking about?
저 떨려서 제가 게임 못하면 우리 다 죽어요. 지금 손이 너무 떨려서.
너 이게 뭔지 알아? 이거 새로 합성한 거라 완전 fucking crazy man. 너 감당 안 돼? 약쟁이 새끼.
This reliance on substances to steady his nerves might have seemed like a good solution in the moment, but it only served to cloud his judgment later on. After Thanos' death, Namgyu was left open. His main intimidation pal was gone, and although he could handle himself, he had made many enemies and wouldn't be thinking too clearly after his drug usage. His erratic behavior meant he killed Saimi for voting to leave the games entirely unprovoked, and he's only going to get even crazier as the games continue. But speaking of poor judgment, no one made a worse call around trust than the next player on our list, Ali Abdul. If there was ever a player who didn't deserve to die, it was Ali Abdul. Loyal, selfless, and unfortunately way too trusting, Ali's kindness became his ultimate downfall. From the moment he saved Gi-hun during red light, green light, Ali showed he wasn't just playing to survive and that he genuinely cared about others. He was a team player through and through, helping his group win whenever he could and working alongside them with the belief that sticking together was the key to making it through. But Squid Game doesn't reward kindness. Instead, it punishes it. This harsh reality became clear during Marbles. Ali teamed up with Sang-woo, believing they could find find a solution together. When the rules revealed that only one could survive, that should have been his wake-up call. Instead, Ali continued to believe in Sang-woo, and that was his fatal mistake. At first, Sang-woo pretended to help, buying time while Ali searched for a win-win solution. But then came the moment we were all screaming at our screens, "Ali, don't do it! Don't hand him the marbles!" But he did exactly that. He trusted Sang-woo, letting his guard down completely. In return, he was left standing empty-handed as his so-called friend walked away. The most heartbreaking part? Ali realized his mistake too late. That final look on his face, confusion, betrayal, and pure heartbreak made this death so brutal and sad. He never saw it coming, but in Squid Game, the #1 rule should always be to trust no one when your life's on the line. Do Jung-soo. In Squid Game, timing is everything, and for Jung-soo, waiting just 1 second too long cost him his life. The glass bridge challenge was terrifying. One wrong step meant certain death. But Jung-soo had a unique edge that could have saved everyone. As a glassmaker with 30 years of experience, he could tell which panels were tempered glass and which were regular glass.
내가 구별하는 방법을 알아. 유리공장에서만 30년을 일했어.
For the first time, someone had a real chance to beat the system. But when it mattered most, he gave away his secret and caused the Big Daddy frontman to cut the lights. This made Jung-soo hesitate and waste time. As the others grew impatient and time ran out, Sang-woo took matters into his own hands. He shoved the old man forward, forcing a decision that wasn't his to make. The glass shattered, and just like that, the player who should have survived to help the others was gone forever.
그래, 너들 오른쪽 소리도 들어봐야 돼. 모르겠어. 그럼 그냥 가.
His mistake wasn't a lack of skill. It was instead a lack of secrecy in using it when it mattered most. In Squid Game, hesitation kills just as surely as a bullet, especially with a killer in the making standing behind you. But he wasn't the only one to make a crucial mistake on the glass bridge. Deok-soo. Sometimes in life, what goes around comes around, and no one demonstrated this better than Deok-soo and Han Min-yo. Deok-soo was ruthless from day one, stealing food, killing players, doing whatever it took to survive. Min-yo, on the other hand, played the long game. She stuck close to him, feeding his ego, making him believe she was loyal, right until he kicked her aside when she was no longer useful, and she never forgot it. Fast forward to the glass bridge, where Deok-soo refused to move forward, paralyzed with fear and holding everyone back, trying to take them all down since he was afraid of his own death. That's when Min-yo stepped in with a smile that sent chills down Deok-soo's spine. She volunteered to go ahead, but turned on him at the last moment with crazy eyes. After one final whisper, she dragged them both down to their deaths, getting the revenge she swore to have against him.
불알 두 쪽 달렸다고 온갖 폼은 다 잡더니
좆가 이 씨발려나. 네가 아무리 씹으려도 그럼 먼저 가서 뒤지든가.
비켜.
그럼 나야 땡큐지. 이년이 씨발! 이 정도는 하고 씨발려나!
That's karma at its finest. Both players thought they could outmaneuver each other at some point, but in the end, they destroyed each other. Deok-soo's mistake was believing his power would protect him forever, while Min-yo's fatal flaw was letting revenge consume her so completely that she was willing to die for it. And even trusting Deok-soo in the first place was a huge mistake to start with. Player 069 and his wife. When contestants were told to pick a partner for the marbles game, most assumed they'd be working with their partner to win the match. Player 069 chose his wife, and that choice sealed both their fates. The moment the rules revealed that only one person from each group could survive, everything changed. What was supposed to be teamwork became a death sentence. We don't see their entire game, but we don't need to, since the aftermath tells us everything. Player 069 won, and his wife didn't. The weight of this broke him completely as time went by. Back in the dormitory, he desperately tried to convince others to end the game. If 9 of us agree, we can get out of here. Don't any of you want to leave this horrible place?
우리 이제 그만해요. 난 더 이상 못하겠어요. 과반수 이상만 찬성하면 그만둘 수 있대요. 9명만 찬성하면 여기서 나갈 수 있어요. 여기서 나가고 싶은 사람 없어요?
He tried and tried to convince them, but no one listened. That same night, consumed by guilt, he took his own life. He made it further than his wife physically, but emotionally, he died the moment she did. His mistake wasn't just choosing her as a partner. It was trying to leave the games and continuing to live after causing her death. Some mistakes in Squid Game kill you right away, saving you from the rougher consequences. Others make you live with them. Ji-young. Not all mistakes in Squid Game come from fear or bad judgment. Sometimes they come from somewhere deeper, as was the case with Ji-young. Unlike most players, Ji-young wasn't playing to win. With no family and no future outside the game, she had nothing waiting for her. But when she met Kang Se-byuk, she finally found something she never had before, a connection that mattered. During marbles, they didn't rush or panic, they just sat down and talked, neither wanting to play a game that meant one of them had to die. But as time ran out, Ji-young made her decision. She threw her marble away, forfeiting her life. I have nothing. You got a reason to get out of this place. But I don't, she told Se-byuk. Taebyuk before walking away to face her death without looking back. Ji-young's death hit differently because it wasn't forced on her. She chose it. But that's what makes it so tragic. She could have fought. She could have won. Or she could have even avoided the games in the first place since she didn't have anyone waiting on the other side if she won. Instead, she gave up her life for someone else, making the ultimate sacrifice in a game designed to reward selfishness. Byung-gi. Some players try to outsmart the system, instead of playing by the rules. For Byung-gi, this strategy worked at first, until it backfired tragically. As the doctor, he had a secret advantage that no other contestant had. While everyone else played blind, he received insider information about upcoming games from corrupt guards, in exchange for helping them to harvest organs from dead players. Pretty disgusting deal, right? But it kept him alive. For a while, it worked perfectly. He breezed through every round without second-guessing a single step. Other players struggled while he always seemed to know exactly what to do. The craziest part is that no one suspected a thing. Everything was going smoothly. If he'd kept his head down, he probably could have made it to the end. But pressure and paranoia got the better of him. When the guards failed to give him details about the next game, he snapped, killing one of them and attempting to escape. He didn't get far before being cornered and capped by the front daddy himself. His body, along with those of the traitorous guards, was later hanged in the stairwell as a brutal warning. Nobody is bigger than the game. Nobody is above the rules. Try to cheat and it will cheat you right back, but the results are far worse. The Recruiter. For years, the Recruiter scouted out desperate people, pulling them into the Squid Game with nothing but slaps and a card. To him, the poor were expendable sacrifices for a system that rewarded the strong. His mistake came after the games, when he confronted Gi-hun at his hotel. G-Money mocked him, calling him a dog to the real masterminds. Pushed too far, the Recruiter pulled out a revolver for one last game, a deadly match of Russian roulette. The rules were simple, but with a deadly twist. They would take turns, but the cylinder wouldn't spin between shots, making death more certain with each round. At first, the Recruiter toyed with Gi-hun, smirking and dragging it out, savoring his control over the situation. But when G-Money refused to break, when he embraced the game instead of fearing it, everything changed. With only one bullet left, he threw the challenge back at the Recruiter, telling him that all he'd have to do is pull the trigger and Gi-hun would be out of his way forever. Instead of pulling the trigger on G-Money, the Recruiter turned the gun on himself. Game over.
생각이 많아졌나? 이제 이 방아쇠를 한 번만 당기면 개새끼라는 걸.
Forever this time. For all his control and manipulation, he forgot the most important rule. In the end, everyone is equal as a player when they're in a game. His ultimate mistake was believing he was above the games, when really, he was just another pawn like everyone else, and died following the rules of the organization like a dog. So this has been every mistake made by players in Squid Game. Which do you think was the biggest blunder? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, drop it a like, and if you want to see more Squid Game content and theories, click the video on screen now.